أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ففهمنا سليمان وكلنا آتينا حكما وعلما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم سبحانك اللهم وحنانيك اللهم لا تنسني ولا تنسني الحمد لله أفضل الحمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وسائر نبيين وصالحين وسلم اللهم وفقني واهدني وسددني واجمع لي بين الصواب والثواب وعذني من الخطأ والهرمان آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Questions and Answers. I'm your host Amjad Muhammad, and I'll be with you for the next 40 minutes or so, dealing with your questions, your queries and your curiosities. The number to call is 01274 214299. That's 01274 214299. Please do give a call and we'll be able to take your questions here in the studio live on Iqra TV on a relatively kind of warmish evening. So relatively speaking, it's been very cold lately. It's still a bit blustery. Temperatures are set to take a bit of a nosedive in the next few days, but we hope that they return back up to some good temperatures so as we get used to approaching spring, inshallah. I know I'm thinking ahead. If, on the other hand, you don't wish to call but you would prefer to email, then the email address is amjad.muhammad, MOHAMMED, at alkhair.org. So today in the office we have been fast preparing for our event on the 8th of January here at Iqra Studios at the Al Khair Bradford branch, in which we will be delivering a seminar on mental health and well-being. We already, alhamdulillah, have around 170, I think 165 people who have registered. Alhamdulillah, that's a huge number. And there is still Friday and Saturday to go, and obviously there might be some people who might just turn up without registering. So that's going to be a large number. We can accommodate, I think, around 140 people we should be able to accommodate. But you know what happens, people register but then they forget or they decide not to come on the last minute or some emergency comes up. But if there is no emergency and there's no problem, then we will be, inshallah, ready to cater for their needs when they return in delivering this program to them. So if you are, as I've mentioned previously, in the local area, in the Bradford area, or you don't live too far from the Bradford area, half an hour, 45-minute drive is not a problem. I've heard there's some food that's going to be served, some light refreshments at the end of it all, in which you can have some tasty Bradford food, whatever it's going to be, and that will be served after 8 p.m. So, that's your evening meal done. The course is free. Yes, you heard it correctly, free. But because obviously Al Khair Foundation is providing it, then it would be nice to support others that Al Khair Foundation supports across the world in trying to bring some benefit to them. So mark that date in your diary, 8th of January on Sunday at 5 p.m. inshallah in the evening. So please do make yourselves available for that particular day, inshallah, and I'm sure you will benefit greatly from there. So that's that. Again, let me remind you of the number 01274 214299 and the email address which you can see on the website, amjad.muhammad, spelled with an ed, at alkhair.org. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's see if we've got some more queries and questions that have come through on the various Dar al-Iftar groups that we have. I answered some yesterday as they were coming in, and also we took a call as well, so we dealt with those. But let's see if we've got any more. There was a follow-up to the question. Jazakallah khair. This was about, if you remember, about drawing making things. Jazakallah khair. This was helpful, alhamdulillah. I hope it's okay to ask a follow-up. So do considerations of whether it is two-dimensional or three-dimensional matter? And does the consideration of whether one intends to create something that could live versus something that could not live, like a headshot, matter? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad that you are a happy person. With regards to a follow-up, of course you can. In terms of these considerations of whether it's two or three-dimensional or whether it is just the head or a full body, the two, three-dimensional is irrelevant, which I think you've already gathered by the way you've posed the question. And similarly, when it comes to whether you just draw a hand or draw the full body, then yes, the problem is the same, albeit obviously a lesser problem when you just draw a hand for obvious reasons, but the issue is still the same. It is your attempt. Remember, the principle here, the illa as we call it, is that you are trying to imitate creation. That's the issue here. And that is something that we obviously cannot engage in. That's why we're permitted to draw an inanimate objects like, cups, saucers, tables, because they have no life in them. Mountains, even the moon. It is only creatures that are living by that definition of living, breathing, eating. That is the issue, because even though the moon is the creation of Allah, the mountain is the creation of Allah, the sea is the creation of Allah, we do not consider it to be living. It is this concept of living which is remarkable. You have a fetus, or you have blood, and then you have a clot of blood, and then you have what's developing into a fetus, and at some point it becomes a living, self-determining creature. It goes from being a part of the woman, like her heart, her lungs, her kidneys, which are also living, and it becomes eventually an independent, self-determining creature with its own soul, with its own individuality. That is creation, that point, when it happens at that point. And this is a remarkable thing, and by us attempting to do that, this is where the concern is, and this is what we are told to refrain from, because in reality, yes, drawing things is what we could call somewhat pretty small. It's not a big issue, but eventually, and we're already seeing that with the designer babies and other thing, it's the slippery slope argument that is used. And also we know that when it comes to items of art, there can easily be things which put us off track, distract us, and can potentially lead to worship status, as we've seen, with statues and things of that nature. So I just thought I'd throw that into the mix as well. Let's have a go at the next question. And that is, Assalamu alaikum, hope you are well. Mufti Saab, just wanted to ask if the water which splashes on one's body or clothing is impure when giving a baby a bath. We put her in a baby bath and we obviously can't tell if she has urinated in it when leaving her in for a short while. She splashes around and often the water splashes on us. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would say please don't leave your baby in a baby bath even for a short while. Even if the baby is pretty stable and can sit on its bottom, it can easily just slip and fall face forward, and it does not take a lot of water for a baby that can't lift its own head to drown in. You can literally drown in 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters of water. So I wouldn't risk it. And if it is only that amount of water, then you will see urine in it for obvious reasons. The color will change. So one shouldn't assume that there's urine in there until there is evidence that there's urine in there. If you look at those discussions that I've had on Tahara and the videos that I have on Tahara, you will be able to see that, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected Honorable Mufti Saab and Shuyukh. Assalamu alaikum. If a person has issued 3 talaqs to one's wife and now the marriage is void, if after consideration amount of time, 5 to 10 years after talaq, they decide to remarry, one another, does halal still have to take place, or can they get remarried? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My honorable brother, if a man issues 3 talaqs to his wife, then the marriage becomes null and void. This means that the two cannot remarry, irrespective of the passage of time, and even if they were to perform a nikah. What needs to happen now is there needs to be what one could say is a reset button needs to be pressed. And what I mean by a reset button needs to be pressed is this woman needs to marry another man. Now you've mentioned halala. Now halala in itself, orchestrated, done, managed, is impermissible. It is by chance if this woman marries another man, and by chance that man decides to divorce her and she completes her iddah, and then by chance her old husband asks her for marriage again, and then she marries, then it's okay. And you can see there is a lot of by chance for that to happen. Unfortunately, what tends to happen is that this is orchestrated, this is planned, and this is done in a strategic way. And it is this which is impermissible. So, one, the passage of time has no impact whatsoever for a couple who have been divorced 3 times to get back together. A fresh nikah has no impact whatsoever. What needs to happen is the lady, if she chooses to marry someone, remember the if, then if that husband divorces her, then if after her iddah, the first husband she was married to asks her to marry again, then when those 3 ifs are there, then there is obviously permissibility, otherwise it is a no. We have last few minutes of this first session before we go off air. So if you do have a question, now is the time to call. 01274214299. If you don't, then we will be end of the session and we will then be going into the second session. Whilst we wait for that, let's answer a couple of more questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Is it permitted for the Imam in Jumu'ah to do all the main rites, meaning to do adhan, iqama and the salah, in a place where nobody knows how to do the adhan properly aside from him? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Because you've put that point that, in a place where nobody knows how to do the adhan, if somebody is in such a situation that the masses or the attendees are ignorant of all the rites of salah with congregation, then the imam has no choice, because if he doesn't do it, then nobody's going to do it. And obviously we know that the adhan is a key aspect of congregational prayer. The iqama is a key aspect of congregational prayer. So therefore it cannot be omitted. So as a consequence, the imam has very little choice. What can happen is, if obviously it seems that this isn't a masjid, but this seems that this is a musalla, and due to the small number of people, maybe it's an office or something, then there is no need to make adhan, at least, both times, because as long as there is a single adhan and an iqama, and even in some cases, if there is a locality in which adhan is taking place and just an iqama, so there is that possibility. However, if it is not an office space, then yes, that person who knows these rights, he should do it, even if he ends up doing everything. Sometimes that's the way it is, isn't it? One person ends up doing everything. So in 3.5 or so minutes to go. I think we're going to get a chance to ask one more question before we go for a break. It's quite a long question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If a person attends the masjid for Dhuhr Salah and he gets too late to perform his 4 sunnah muakkada since the Jama'ah is about to commence, can he perform these 4 sunnahs after the 4 fard? If so, should he perform these 4 sunnahs after his 2 sunnahs and 2 nafil or before he commences his 2 sunnahs? Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If a person misses his 4 sunnah muakkada, then there is a difference of view. Some say that he should perform it straight after his 4 fard. Others say it should be performed after the 2 sunnah. It would seem appropriate that because he's already missed the chance to pray the 4 sunnah muakkada before his fard, then there's no point in delaying his 2 sunnah after his 4 fard. So rather he should perform his 2 sunnah and then he should do his 4 fard sunnah after that. That is probably a better routine to take, so that only one prayer is kind of outside of its sequence rather than 2 prayers outside of their sequence, if that makes sense. Barakallahu feekum, Isa. Excellent. So that has taken us right to the point of the next session. We do have 2 more questions, and we will take those 2 questions shortly, inshallah. No point squeezing them in. Before this break. Please don't call in now, because we are now literally seconds away from the first session. We've tackled majority of the questions on the gents group. Obviously, we will be tackling the remainder of the questions on the gents group when we return. And then, after a few days, as we've not looked at the ladies group, we will turn our attention to the ladies group. So, inshallah, please do tune in. Do have your questions ready. It'd be nice to hear from one of you as well, calling on the number. I will share the number with you when you return. Or, if you wish, you can send an email instead on the email address, which will be flashed on the screen when we return. In the meantime, will give my throat a bit of a rest. I've got this very severe sore throat on the right-hand side, which is causing a lot of pain, even difficult to swallow, and it seems to have made my tongue inflate because I can't pronounce certain words. Anyway, I'll need that bit of rest. After that bit of rest, I will return. I will sup on some of this coffee, which has given it some comfort because it's nice and warm, and I will see you shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.